Well, it's always inspiring to sit down with women who are making a difference in the world. And today I'm thrilled to introduce you to Dr. Nabila Boutros, a linguistic professor at the British University in Cairo, Egypt, as well as vice chairperson of the International Committee of Women's Commission with the World Evangelical Alliance. That is a really long title.
It is, isn't it?
And it's a volunteer position, so I think they had to give you an extra long title just to, you know, make up for that. So you do work with women across the Middle East, and I'm so fascinated to talk about that role because you have done so much with your life already, and you've made such a difference, and yet it's not necessarily an area where it's easy for women to achieve. Can you talk to me about that?
Yes, well, women in the Middle East have started way behind the man, and they really fought a lot in order to get their position in the community. And so far, men think that they have allowed them to take that part, and they keep fighting for it, especially in the Christian community. So the Christian community is far much advanced, in the Muslim world, where everything is controlled by men. But in the church, they allow women to lead group meetings and Bible studies, singing groups, do some lectures and stuff like that. But so far, we haven't reached the point, the point of being pastors, ordained pastors, But we have elders and we have deacons as women, and they do a marvelous job in the church.
Well, I know your focus is among women. What are some of the challenges that women in the Middle East face? What do you see?
Well, number one, in the Middle East, they face all traditions of the superiority of, male chauvinist approach all over the Middle East with no exception whatsoever. They have always the power and the upper hand in the say of so many things, but this has changed because Muslim women and Christian women have been fighting for that and reached very good, points by asking for their legal rights, their rightful rights in the community, and they have achieved a lot of progress in doing that. So women now are fighting for example, illiteracy of women because most of them are not educated. And it's very simple that the mother and the father would ask her to stay at home and look after, the brothers and the sisters that are younger and do most of the housework affairs. That gives her a source of worthless because she's just like a maid doing what others want her to do. So what we do is we go and, we have courses to help these women. So we teach them, number one, is about self-worth. You may do so many things, stuff for the house, but you are a woman. You are entitled to be educated, go out in the community, do some work, prove yourself, and you are such a precious, wonderful creature in the eyes of the Lord. So don't let the community and your parents and the Muslims around you give you a different, picture about who you are. God has died for both men and women. And we found sometimes in the very deep rural areas, a woman came to me and asked me, will women ever get to heaven? So I wondered, why is the source of this question? Because she was told theologically that women are not going to heaven because of the original sin, as if they are responsible about that. So, you need to change their concept about the way they are and who they are, and stop being so much marginalized and have no say in the community. And praise God, during the revolution, when the churches were open and a lot of men and women and youth went out and spoke their hearts out and cried for freedom, it was the women who made the difference in all the voting throughout the community. And it was recognized even officially on the newspaper that had it been for the women, things would not have changed.
Wow.
So we are going ahead. We're trying and we're striving, but not yet. We're dreaming for more. We ask for more.
Yeah, absolutely. And there needs to be more. I know, Egypt is probably a little bit more progressive than much of the Middle East. But even there, you're seeing a lot of women facing sexual assault, even in their own home. Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, because the woman is looked at and perceived as a belonging of the family, it's not a human being that has her rightful position. So some of the father forgets that, that they are the father and they should look after these women. So we hear stories of, father raping the girl, uncle, cousins, and this is what we call extended family in the community. So we have like 10, 15 people living in one house. And when they are young, they don't know that this is wrong. They think that's part of their duty. until at a point they start feeling a sense of guilt and they cry and they come to us. And we found them, when we are holding these sessions, coming and telling us the story. Sometimes we take the girl out of her normal habitat and we fight with the parents actually. And sometimes I really threaten that I would report it to the police, so they are afraid. So we take them in a monastery and we try to give them psychological help, sort of encouragement, and give them spiritual help and tell them, you are the victim. You are, you're not responsible about that, because they think that they are responsible about that.
People who've been molested, they always think that there's something wrong with them that made it happen.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not true.
No, it's not true. Absolutely not true. So we keep telling them that you are the victim. And we tell them that the one who's done this to you is a sort of a coward person who has no, kindness in his heart. He doesn't understand his role in the community. So all what he wants is to satisfy his, biological needs, and you pay the price. Most of them come out feeling that, oh, what a relief that I am not guilty, and that God will forgive me, and I can restore my position in the eye of the Lord. I am not, condemned to go to hell because of this particular event that happened to me.
Or they feel dirty, right?
Oh,
they need to feel that sense of God's loving.
The sense of guilt and dirt and unworthiness that really covers them, poor souls. And then when we teach them, that's another course we give as well, through another commission that belongs to the Evangelical Alliances in Egypt. It's called Think and Do. So we teach them how to do makeup, how to do hair, a little bit of nursing, typing, secretarial work, and all that stuff. And we encourage them to go out and work. So once they go out at work and they get a little bit of money and they feel that they are responsible about themselves, they can go home and stand up for their rights. Stand up in front of their even father, who to them was like, a huge monster that couldn't be, shut out or, stay away from. But now they can stand up and call for their rights. You are not going to do this to me anymore. These are the sentences we hear all the time. So we teach them how to stand up for their rights, how to find their place in the community, how to perceive themselves in a different concept, totally different than the community is trying to feed up with, and change their mentality. Look at you. You are a woman. You have a good place in the eyes of the Lord. He died for you too.
And I love that, because that course that you teach about how to stand up against sexual abuse isn't just for victims or people who've been victimized,
everybody.
but you're actually teaching all young women how to respect themselves and to say that I matter and nobody can cross those boundaries.
Exactly. And now I think the community has realized that this thing has been rampant, especially molesting or using verbal, sexual abuse or stuff like that. So they have given, a huge penalty for the people who do that. And before, if a woman would go to the police and report that, they will tell her, go and see what you have done. You are here because you probably have tried to seduce that man. So she's always on the wrong. Never, they don't listen to her.
I see that all over the world. Women are always blamed for it.
Yeah. And then they say the shame of the community, because everybody will look at you. Look at you, you're such a daring woman. How dare you can do such a thing and, expose your father or brother or sister or even a cousin or even somebody that is not supposed to come from a woman. But now they are courageous, and they go and they report and they talk about themselves, and they're not afraid anymore. And the one who've done that, they come and tell the others. So we keep telling them, now you are like a little prophet. Start getting your message out and help others to take the same footsteps that you have taken.
That's
and let
beautiful.
the others see who you are.
We hear so much negative about women in the Middle East, and I think as women here in North America, we don't always know what we can do to help, because there's a religious aspect to it and there's a cultural aspect to it. You're working to change that. Do you have hope for the future of women in the Middle East?
Oh, yes, I do. I really trust the Lord for that, and I trust the women for that. Because, like they were so much captured in a circle of their own, and they were always told not to cross the border. Now they have the courage to do that. And they even ask for their rights, legal rights, psychological rights, position in the community. They are asking for leadership, position and work. and they don't stop because, you know, you have unleashed the power of the woman. And we keep pushing them to do that. And, you know, especially the woman in the political arena, she was not, you know, counted at all to, you know, put a vote or something like, why should I do a vote? I'm not counted in. They don't respect me. Now we told them, no, your vote counts. And if you don't do that for the rightful person, and we made a lot of sessions and CDs and we distributed among the women, the wrong guy will come. And then you're not bought, because they used to buy them with a sack of oil, flour, sugar, and stuff like that. And they take their own ID and do the voting for them for the persons they want. So we tell them, no, you don't that. You are not bought. You have dignity and you have pride, and you have to choose the person who's gonna, you know, represent you. So you have to speak about that or choose about that very wisely. And they do.
That seems to
They
me
do.
so much the work of God, to give people dignity, whatever gender, whatever social standing, rich, poor. You know, the gospel is to give people dignity and to say that they have value. Thank you so much for doing that. We need to keep you and your work in our prayers. I know there's so much more that you do, but we just want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, please keep this ministry in your prayers, and we're going to see more good news coming out of Egypt and the Middle East to come, I'm sure.